there are times where we want to stay ignorant to the truth because it's easier.
Yeah.
But I believe that when you go and you find the truth and you come face to face with it, now you can actually do something about it.
Wealth is a reward of proper stewardship.
Money is to be saved, it's to be invested, it's to be given, but most importantly, it's to be spent.
God forbid, but if you were to lose your job, I believe with the mindset that I have now, that I wouldn't worry, at least not to the point where I was before. I'm persuaded of God's provision. So, yeah.
That's good. I wouldn't worry quickly. Give it a month or two. I'm gonna need a job. What's going on, Beyond Prosperous family? Welcome to another Beyond the Joneses podcast. In this podcast, we're going to be talking all things finance when it comes to the Joneses and our journey ultimately to getting to where we are.
Yes, and a disclaimer, we are not financial advisors. We are not experts at finances at all. In this podcast, we're going to be talking strictly from our experience and the wisdom and the knowledge that we've gained over our 8 years of marriage. So just wanted to put that out there. I hope you enjoy the content, but this may not work exactly the way that it works for us, for you. So keep that in mind as you're watching.
And also, if you hear our kids, you just hear our kids.
Yeah, we're parents.
All right, so our first topic is going to be, how do we believe God thinks about wealth?
Yes, and that's something interesting. I think that before we even get into it, it's important to note that for whatever reason, talking about money, talking about wealth, that seems to be sort of taboo, sort of one of the things that we don't really talk about as much as believers. And I'm not sure why that is, but for me, I think that when it comes to thinking about what God believes about wealth, we have to look clearly in the scriptures. Going back to, I'm going off track. I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, and I'll just actually jump in and, you said you don't know why it seemed like it's difficult for us as believers to talk about money. I think that sometimes we could put so much emphasis on particular stories in the Bible that it ultimately just change our whole mindset. So the first one that comes to mind is when the woman, she gave, but she gave very minimal. Like she gave the least that, or the most that she possibly could, but she didn't have much, and it was looked at and blessed like it was the most that had been given. And God specifically said that, and it was more about her heart than it was the amount that she gave. And I think that just different things like that can put us in a mindset to think that, well, if I have less, then maybe in a sense I have more, or I'm given more, or something like that.
Right. I really like that. And I think even for me growing up, we would hear this saying like, my God is rich, my God is big, like he owns everything, all the money in the world, like it belongs to me. And sometimes we can think because we are believers that God has a responsibility to make us wealthy or to give us wealth. But I don't think it's God's responsibility for that. I feel like God's responsibility, or not responsibility, but God gives us what we need, and everything else is additional. That's kind of how I think about it.
And I would say like even how this whole subtopic came up is because of a conversation that we were having, and I can't even remember the exact question that kind of sparked it, but I know that we were talking about like ultimately how we think that God sees wealth, and I think that it's money just in general, and I believe that He's indifferent about it. And when I say that, I mean that He is not so focused on you being wealthy or you being poor. He's not going to necessarily make you wealthy or make you poor. That He gives you, and He gives us the resources in order to steward them to produce a life. And I say that because even in the story that I was just talking about, Jesus didn't bless her with more money. Like He didn't just come out and just bless her with more money. And also we know of many men in the Bible and many people in the Bible that were actually wealthy. And so it's not like He looks down on those that have wealth and He raises up those that don't have wealth, quote unquote, but more so I believe that He has given us the principles to steward the things that He's given us in order to live a life that is prosperous in our in the sense that he would want us to live that prosperous life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And speaking of the word, the Bible clearly shows us that provision, that's a promise. That's something that he promises to us. In Philippians 4:19, he talks about, my God will supply all of my needs according to his riches and glory. And the wealth part, I think that is something that we have to work for. It's a reward. And I think about the children of Israel and how God gave them provision every single day. He provided manna for them. He provided a cloud by day, a fire by night. He provided all those things. But that was what he gave them. But they still ended up wandering in the wilderness for 40 years rather than experiencing that 11-day journey or however long it was supposed to be.
Right.
Instead of that, they ended up being disobedient, complaining. They ended up worshiping other gods. And because of that, they could not even see that the promised land was like right there. It was on the precipice. It wasn't that they didn't know like where it was. It was that the Lord wasn't able to reveal it to them because they weren't stewarding what they had. They weren't stewarding the actual promises that God had given them, the provision that he had provided for them.
And even in you saying that, if I remember correctly, God had even told them to get gold, to get jewels, to ask their neighbor to get that before they actually left Egypt. And what's crazy is that God had provided the provision, and they used that to build the gold
idols.
The gold calf. And so that's so crazy that so many times what God has even given to us for provision, we can, if we don't steward it right, if we don't use it correctly, it can just so easily turn into an idol if we don't keep our eyes on him.
Exactly.
And so that's what, we believe that when God talks about wealth, and even the scripture that says that a good father will leave an inheritance to his children's children. We was talking about that a little bit, and I need to dive deeper into it. But I was wondering if God was truly just talking about, and I don't think so, but just talking about materialistic things. And then it got to the point where I was like back then there was no life insurance. There was no stocks that you could just pass on, as an inheritance to your kids. And I was talking and I was wondering if it's more of this principled life that we're supposed to live, that is what it should be passed on, this life of generosity, this life of proper stewardship, this life of relationship and knowing how to build those relationships. And I think that is a better inheritance than just the gold. And so it takes me back to King Solomon, where it's a passing down of wisdom than it is the passing down of more materialistic things.
Right. If you think about how many times wisdom is referenced in the Bible, more so than anybody inheriting any form of material thing, it outweighs it way more. And it talks about wisdom being more precious than rubies, and rubies is a valuable thing. So if wisdom is more valuable than that, then yes, that's exactly what God wants us to pass on to the next generation.
And one more thought that I had that I was supposed to ask you before the podcast, because I don't think that I've ever read it, but did Jesus ever...
Are you finished?
No.
Keep the door closed.
Keep the door closed until we come and get you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, as I was saying, I was thinking about this. I had this thought, and I was going to bring it to you because I don't think that I've read it.
Okay.
Did Jesus ever bless anybody with finances?
I've never read that at all, ever. In the Bible.
In the Bible. Did
Now,
Jesus
I mean,
give anybody?
if there are any Bible scholars out there who know, let us know. But I don't remember hearing or seeing that in the Bible at all.
And so that just makes me, and again, it's not about him not blessing them. It's that what Jesus came to do is to reveal the heart of the Father.
Right.
And so when I think about that specifically, it's is that God's heart is on so many other things that are actually that actually matter. You know, he did the things that Jesus came to do, the things that I believe was on the Father's heart and that was important to him. And while I believe that finance is absolutely important to be able to provide and even protect in a sense, I think that it was not the most important thing.
I agree. And there was a thought on here that I wanted to reference.
It'll come back to you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into question 2. What was our money mindset before we moved? So we just talked about, what we believe God, ultimately what we believe God thinks about wealth. Now let's talk about where we were and how we got to the place that we are now. So before we got here, before we moved to Texas, there was really, I guess, like we were intentional, but at the same time, we were, or I'll say, I'm gonna speak about me. I'm not going to speak about we, because while we were both going in the same direction, I think that our mindsets were different. Because for me, I was working on Beyond Prosperous. I was working on creating content. I was working on trying to build a business. And because of this visionary mind that I have, I'm thinking that I can spend as much money as I need to spend as wisely as I can, but that ultimately, if I turmoil long enough, or is that toil? If I toil long enough, that eventually, I'll start seeing that fruit come back. And basically, we got to a point where we had to start cutting things off before we actually got to see that fruit come. And so that was like my thing. I was like, this is just an investment. This is just an investment. This is just an investment. And I'm speaking to those people that are trying to start a business or are trying to start something that is costing you, in the meantime. And I want to share with you the new mindset once we get to that section. But this is my old mindset of like, it doesn't matter how much it is because it is just an investment in myself. It is just an investment in our family. It's just an investment in our future. And I have faith that God is going to see us through, and he's going to give us the abundance that we believe that we're supposed to have. So.
Yeah. And for me, before moving to Texas, I was just trying to stay afloat, I'll say, so to speak. I wanted to remain steady. So I worked the same job. I wasn't planning on leaving. I was only planning on gaining more finances from my job, and that's it. Like, that's pretty much what I could contribute. Like, for me, it was just staying consistent and helping where I was. And I did not know much about the technical side of finances. So when it came to that, I really relied heavily on Raekwon to lead us and help us to learn how to invest, learn how to do the basics of finances, since I had limited knowledge. So whenever those big ventures came up, I was along for the ride. I mean, I supported, of course, like a wife does. You stand by your husband, and of course you want to make sure that he is making the right decisions for the family. But for me, I knew that his intentions were good. So surely, like, whatever we're doing, at some point, we're going to get where we need to be. So that was my thinking prior to Texas.
Yeah. And I don't know if I shared this in another podcast, but what got me into thinking more financially and started kind of investing in myself when it came to my understanding and my knowledge about finances and wealth and stocks and all that stuff was when we first got married. I was in college, and basically we lived in an apartment and stuff like that. And I remember, I think she was at work at the time, but I'm on the floor and I'm thinking about the life that I believed I was supposed to have with my wife, and how it was supposed to be something that was like, I believe in wealth. I believe in generational wealth. This is at 20 years old. And so I'm like, okay, what could I possibly do to position us like that? Mm-hmm. And the only thing that I could think of, I'm like, well, like, what do wealthy people do? They invest in stocks. Mm-hmm. So I got like an Acorn account where every time you spend, it's in the change to the account and stuff like that. And that started building up. but then I started investing in my mind and started reading and started just really trying to figure out, how to build your wealth. And I learned from a lot of different people that had their own businesses, and so I felt like that was the fastest way to ultimately build this life that that I believe that we were supposed to have. And because of the availability of, one, debt, but two, the access to the knowledge without the wisdom of actually going through some of those things and seeing and feeling some of those shortcomings. You jump right in and you don't necessarily know what's at the bottom.
Right.
And so, that was another part, like that was the beginning of me figuring out our finances. And ultimately got to a point where it just wasn't sustainable. That's all it was, it just wasn't sustainable. And so that was our old way of thinking. It was like the main thing that you were focused on was security.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted financial security, and I wanted to know, like, okay, we don't have to worry about this. But I was very much like worried in the back of my mind. Even when I felt like we were in a good spot, I think I was still in the back of my mind questioning, okay, well, what about next month? Like, okay, well, is this going to work out? Whenever we do like the business venture, the new business venture, okay, what is this going to look like? Why isn't it moving faster? Or, things like that. So it was a challenge, but I think through it all, I know that our heart was, okay, we want this life and we want to figure out how to do it. We just made some irrational decisions, I think, along the way. Yeah. And I think that's normal. Yep. But like you said, we were getting the knowledge without the wisdom. And there really wasn't anyone that could really show us, we didn't necessarily have anybody who had been through the same situations that we had, or come out of the situations that we had been in a way that made sense, I guess.
Yeah, like we had some mentors come in our life and different things like that. But again, it was like to know the ins and outs of our finances and our plans and our future and what we want to do and how we want to do it. Of course, that should change, with counsel.
Right.
But ultimately, that step by step, that step 1, step 2, step 3 is something that we didn't have. And speaking of that segues into what tool did we use to begin our financial process? And that was Financial Peace University. So in one of our other podcasts, we talk about joining the church that we're at now and how one of the first classes that we were a part of was Financial Peace University, and it completely changed our whole philosophy on money and how to build wealth and what's possible. I think that was one of the biggest changes for me, is just really seeing other people go through the process and see what's possible on the other side.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely a mindset shift for all of us, or both of us. And I think coming into it, I wasn't sure how to think about it because we were diving deep into our finances, and it was something that we hadn't necessarily done before. So it was like, okay, well, what now? And also, well, it's going to be a long process. So I had a lot of thoughts going into it.
Yep. I would say one of the scariest things is knowing you got debt and you start a process and you got to go and find all the debt that you have,
right,
and write it down and come face to face with it. Like that is reality. That is when you go and you find the truth. And that doesn't just apply to your finances. That applies to your relationships. That applies with everything in your life. When you are wanting, there are times where we want to stay ignorant to the truth because it's easier. But I believe that when you go and you find the truth and you come face to face with it, now you can actually do something about it. And so we're just going to go through a couple of the steps, how far we've made it, and I'll just kind of run down through what all 7 of the steps are. If you want more information, you just go to the Dave Ramsey, the Baby 7 baby steps, and you can kind of find more information about that. I highly suggest following Dave Ramsey if you are someone that's trying to get out of debt and trying to kind of fix your finances. So baby step 1 is to save $1,000 as your starter emergency fund. That was the first thing that we did, was make sure that we have $1,000. Dave Ramsey's philosophy on this is that $1,000 is not supposed to be enough for an emergency fund, but many times $1,000 is more money than that someone has saved than they've saved in a very long time.
Right.
So it's just one of those things that you just start off and you do.
Yeah, it's just something to really get you conscious and in the practice of putting something away into the side, because you're going to do it multiple times in different ways, but it's just getting acclimated to putting money away.
Yeah, and it's one thing under your belt, like that's kind of getting that right off, especially because of like baby step 2, it's to pay off all debt except the house using the debt snowball. And so I think that the reason that step 1 is so important is because step 2 is you are fully focused, like determined with blinders on to paying off your debt. And so if something does come up, you have a little bit of an emergency fund to kind of buffer, your finances. Because if you don't have that emergency fund and you're just going all in on your debt, then you don't have anything to go toward that emergency. And so I think that is what that's about. And so using the debt snowball simply means that you list all of your debts out and you start paying them off from the lowest debt to the highest debt. And basically you pay the minimum on everything that's above that lowest debt. Once you pay that lowest debt off, you start using what you were putting toward that debt and you snowball it into the next debt, and the snowball gets bigger and bigger until you are fully paid off. All right, step 3 is the 3 to 6 months of expenses of a fully funded emergency fund. And so right now we're basically still in step 2 with a little bit of step 3 in there, because we want to make sure that we have a little bit more of an emergency fund with how our family is set up, with a single income household and mom staying at home taking care of 4 kids.
Full-time job.
Full-time job. So then I'll just run through the rest of these steps that we're looking forward to getting into. Step 4 is to invest 15% of your household income into retirement. Step 5 is to save for your children's college fund. Step 6 is to pay off your home early. And step 7 is to build wealth and give. So that is the baby steps that we are living in right now, and that ultimately has framed our new philosophy. Like I said, that class really transformed our life when it came to finances, because it gave us a step-by-step guide. It just okay, like you're not guessing. You know exactly what you need to do, and you know exactly the next step that you need to take.
Exactly. I think also something to know is that if it really helps you to have a budget. And some people think, like, when it comes to budgeting, that there isn't any room for anything else. And it was good for me to know that in that budget that there is room. You just plan for it. That was something that I really was encouraged by going through this process. So in case you are skeptical and are feeling like, oh no, I can't do this, like it's not going to be fun. It isn't. No, it's not. But there is still I think that they even put emphasis on making sure that at least our class did, make sure you budget for yourself, budget for your family to be able to do things. You want to still enjoy your life.
Yes. Budget, some spending. And I think that the reason for that is because this is not a around the corner. This is a long journey across country. And so, in order to build a life that that can be sustainable, in order to build a budget that can be sustainable, you got to have some kind of relief in there. I think was the point there. So next is, what is our new mindset? And I'm going to piggyback off of what you were just talking about. Is a little bit of spending money. So I'm going to read from my notes. My new mindset is money is to be saved, is to be invested, is to be given, but most importantly, it's to be spent. So I believe that it is to be saved for opportunities that arise, and also, those things that you are vacations, your, if you want to invest into something bigger, but ultimately it's to be saved for opportunities, but also emergencies. It's to be invested wisely. It's to be given generously, and I believe that comes with wisdom as well. You have to be wise about it. But also, it's to be spent stress-free.
Right.
spent stress-free is totally different from just spent.
Right.
Because, you know, even before we got into this new mindset, we was spending stress-free until it was time to pay back the debt.
What we spent.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it is completely different now that we're in this space and we've budgeted our spending. Now, when we spend, it feels stress-free. Like this money is allocated toward spending only. We got other stuff for bills. We got other stuff for investment. We got other stuff for savings, other stuff for family stuff. And we got money for spending.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And my new mindset, part of it is that financial security, and we were talking about this in a different context, but financial security is a false perception. And I say that only because the financial security that we're thinking about, okay, we have a steady income coming in from a job. But what if tomorrow you lose that job, you lose that income? That financial security is gone. So I'm leaning more so on provision. Provision is always going to be there. God always provides for his children. And so I think for me, like going into the process of not even being a contributor financially in the household, I have just like shifted my mind. I really was feeling more so in control when I had a job. Like I had a portion that I was giving or that I was contributing every single week or every single month. So I felt like, okay, yeah, I got this job. I'm good. Like we're good. As long as I can keep, you know, helping in this way, I'm good. But that's no longer a thing.
Right.
So I'm not contributing in that way.
Right.
So I think that like my switching gears from working full time to being at home and not bringing in any income financially has just helped me to understand more so like the reality of God's provision and the fact that he will provide. Of course, we do have to go out and you have to go out and work for that for the money part of it. But if you were to lose your job, God forbid, but if you were to lose your job, I believe with the mindset that I have now that I wouldn't worry, at least not to the point where I was before. Like really, I was always talking about security, always like worried about what would happen, like if this happens or that happens. But at this point, I'm persuaded of God's provision. So, yeah.
That's good. I wouldn't worry quickly. I'll give it a month or two. And I'm going to need a job.
And regardless of how God provides, he can provide a new job. That might be his provision for us. But that's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah.
I would understand, like, okay, if this happened, I know for sure that this is why we've been saving how we've been saving, or why we've been investing the way. This is why God like led us to do it in that way.
Exactly. So. I think that God provision is really like it's the sowing the seeds before the rain comes. Yeah. So we can sow the seeds, we can till the soil, but it's up to God to bring the clouds, to bring the rain.
Right.
We can't do that. We can't bring the sunshine. We can't bring the rain. It's up to God to do that, but we do our part. And I think that because we do our part, then if whenever God moves, we're in position, which actually goes to one of my thoughts is that favor is fair. That favor is basically to receive favor is about proper positioning. It's not necessarily about you being in a disadvantaged spot, and now that you're in a disadvantaged spot, God shows out and shows up, and now you have favor on your life. But I believe more so that it's about positioning yourself. It is about saving. It is about investing. It is about making sure that you have an emergency fund, because what's unwise is to believe in God for provision and you don't save.
Right. Yeah. The thought that I had is that wealth is a reward of proper stewardship. That means that the things that God has given you, you're handling it in the right way.
Yeah.
You can't get anything from, like, you could have everything you need in your hand, but if you throw it away, it's no longer there for you to live off of, and you don't see the value of it. But if you use it properly, you
That's
have
good.
everything that you need. So yeah.
That's good. That's good. There was one more thought that I had that I lost.
I'm sorry.
No. It was based off of what you just said.
Okay.
But yeah. You said
Wealth is a reward of proper stewardship.
wealth is a reward for proper stewardship. That's what it was. And I can't remember if I shared this when we talked about the Financial Peace University, when we talked about it with the church episode. But one of the things that hit me while we were just starting that class is that in order to be a millionaire, you have to have $1 million. In order to be a millionaire, you have to have $1 million. And so it's not having $1 million that you didn't spend, because we probably, if you at a certain age, you didn't spend $1 million. Can you? That's crazy.
We might have.
We might have hit $1 million already.
Yeah.
In our 8 years.
Right.
Actually, I don't know. But anyway, might have.
Either close to it. At
Close
least.
to it. But in order to be a millionaire, you have to have $1 million, whether that's in actual cash or in assets, minus your whatever debt that you have. You have to have that. And so what that made me realize is that you can't spend all the money that comes in. Period. If you're talking about becoming a millionaire and becoming wealthy, the only way to actually see that wealth or to become a millionaire, to get that status, is to not have spent that money, but instead put that money to work.
Right.
Not put it in somebody else's pocket, but to put it in an investment or something that will ultimately build and grow for you.
Right.
So that was like, it's very simple, but mind blowing, because I'm just like, I've been trying to get to this millionaire status and I ain't got no kind of saving habit nowhere. And so that's just a tidbit there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to this next one. What is our current process? And so this is short and sweet. So with whatever comes in, we have a 10% tithe. This is a breakdown of how our spending looks, and it will change as time goes and as our debt increases. But right now is a 10% tithe, 10% savings, 5% personal. So that's what I've just straight to my account and for my personal spending, and then 5% for family. So whatever we do as a family, we go out, we're going to do something, then we got that on a monthly basis, whatever we want to do, and we can spend stress-free. And we have 70% going to bills. So why 70% toward bills? Because it is our living expenses, but also it is going toward our debt. And so that's how our budget is right now, and hopefully that is helpful for someone else as well. It's very simple, very straightforward. Money knows where it's supposed to go right when it hit the account. Everything, most things is on auto pay, something that we don't have to think about. And so, one huge tip that was given to me that changed my life and changed my tithing was I was sitting down with a guy. He was kind of like, in a sense, kind of like a mentor for a short time. And he told me, he said, anytime I get paid, the day that I get paid, I tithe. Mind blown, because I thought you're supposed to wait till Sunday. And so, we have opportunity now in this day and age to be able to tithe at our own convenience. And it's just best to do it first thing, because now it's done. You can be a joyful giver when that money hits your account.
Right.
And it's nice and sitting there, and you can do that.
Yeah.
You got anything to add?
No, man, unless you want to talk about our specific roles with the money in
Yeah,
our
go ahead.
household. And to talk about how we actually operate financially. So for me, I work more administratively, paying the bills. He provides the money for the bills and I pay them. And I also manage grocery budgets and anything that has to do with like spending money for things that we need,
Yep.
So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. He is really good with numbers, so he maps out where everything needs to go. He handles the investments and savings and things like that. And I handle the bills and the budgets.
Yep. So how we're closing out is, what challenges are we experiencing, or what do we see ourselves running into as a challenge later on? And I'll start this one off with, one of the challenges that I've been feeling, and I think that it's more personal to me and my personality, is feeling like I'm grinding and things are not going at the speed that I'd like to go. Like, I want it to go faster. I want it to go quick. I want to see the account growing and multiplying and things like that. And so that's been one of the mental challenges for me, is to really, best thing for me is to not look at the savings and the investment accounts just to see that, that money is being transferred there. Yeah. And it's because if I can stay focused for long enough, I know that the vision that I want, when it comes to our finances, that it'll be a reality. If I just do what I'm supposed to do, and God has already did the provisioning. He's already given me the plan. Right. And so if I just stick to the plan, then we'll see those things happen. And along the way, things may change. There may be some rain, some storms, but ultimately, if you stick to the plan long enough, it's like guaranteed. So
yeah, I agree. For me though, I honestly can say that I don't have any worries about any challenges right now. And that's not to say like I'm not, how do I say? That's not to say that I don't believe that there could be financially like something that comes up that we're not expecting or anything like that. It's just to say that I know where we were and I see where we are. Mm-hmm. And I also see the choices that we're making right now, and how that has paid off over a short period of time. So I am confident that whatever decisions that we make moving forward, we're going to come out of the premise of what we've learned and how we've grown. So whatever challenges, so to speak, come up, we're going to know what to do or how to handle it in the best way that we can. So for me, I'm not necessarily worried about like any challenges right now.
Well, I'm not going to let her off that easy. How do you feel about not making your own money?
At first, like before I got my last paycheck, I felt a little like helpless, I guess. Helpless is the only word I can think of. Like out of control, I guess. Out of control. I'm not contributing at all. So like it's not on me. It's like I don't have a way to contribute financially anyway. Now, like I think about it. I do think about it. And sometimes I'm like, okay, well, what job can I get that I can work from home, that I can still be present with my kids and, do homeschool and all that. And every time I'm just like, if I do this job, I have to commit all my time like to this job. And yeah, I would love to be able to have this money coming in. I think about our goals and the things that we were working towards with both of our incomes. And I know that shifted and changed and the timeline has changed. So I think when I was thinking about it more so, it's like, I don't get to contribute. I don't get to make this happen or help make this happen for us. But I'm shifting more towards just trusting God's plan and knowing that I'm not contributing in that way financially anymore, but I'm contributing to keeping a peaceful home and keeping you stress-free and in ways that are intangible that are worth more than a paycheck could ever be.
And so, and I asked that question because it's a real question. Because there are and will be women that choose to stay home and even are having to stay home because of life situations, and that it is a challenge, especially when you're trying to get out of debt and you're trying to get on the right path and you're wanting to kind of see those things come. that it is a challenge. And so I was wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be an ever-changing, ever-evolving like thought for me, because I did not necessarily, I chose to stay home,
Right.
but it wasn't my
Right,
choice.
right.
Had I not been forced, so to speak, to leave my job, I would still be there, and I would
Right.
still happily be working and contributing to the home. And so I think it will be something that changes
Yeah.
over time. And I think I will eventually find some other avenue, if it's not working a traditional job, to bring in an income, because ultimately I want to be able to contribute. But right now I'm trying to stay focused on what I do get to like contribute to
Yeah.
and invest in, and that's our children, that is you, our home, and myself, because like I'm having to face even more now so than before, like the things that I can do better and the things that I can grow in. So it gives me more time to really focus on that.
Yeah.
So
That's good. I think that we have to be present, you know,
Yeah.
Especially with my mind, how it goes. It's good to be present, to be in the moment, to be in the process, and yeah, that's it.
yeah.
And so we hope that you have enjoyed this podcast. We pray that this does produce fruit in your life, and you are able to get to the place that you feel like God is leading you, especially when it comes to financially, succeeding or being financially prosperous. We believe that is what we're called to. We believe that we're supposed to be financially prosperous and abundant. We believe that God has promised that to us, especially when we are living the way that He desired for us to live. And the one thing that I forgot to say in the podcast that I want to say now is that what I believe about the Bible, that if it's really true, it has to be true everywhere. And so I believe that sometimes we can read the Bible from a lens, an American lens, for those of us that live in America. But in order for when we talk about wealth, when we talk about prosperity, when we talk about these things, I believe that in order for it to truly be true, it has to be true everywhere. It has to be true where the tribes are. It has to be true where there's no electricity like it is here in third world countries. Like, God's word has to be true and true.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, I when we read these principles and we follow and we live by these principles, we try to think of it from that perspective, that whatever we believe, it has to be, in its truth, it has to be worldwide. It can't just be an American thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when we are posting next.
That's right. Subscribe so you know when our next podcast drop. See y'all in the next one.